tax account and show those reconciliations, we are happy to do that.
Okay, that's all.
There's
that's all
no
we need.
issue with doing
We
that.
can't,
But it should
I don't
be
need to look at
documented
your,
so
it's like me
everybody
asking you
can
for
Everything,
fireman's relief, I can't see that.
no, we get all about fireman's relief, you want our audits for fireman's relief, that's perfectly fine, just ask us for it, right? That is down to the penny, you have to reconcile that, because you get.
Same with the
a lot of
tax
trouble,
account.
right? And you would see that in even some of our notations with what we provided thus far.
Right.
There's transfers that go from fireman's relief, it was a reimbursement, because fireman's relief said you can't pay for this out of it. This uniform,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allowed to pay for this out of fireman's relief.
You know that's one of the contentions in this,
That's already been addressed.
no?
It has, Bill.
Okay,
The
I don't know if
numbers
we
don't
need to get
match.
down to line items here tonight, because we're
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
keep
do
going
that with
around.
Amanda.
I think you guys are better off
President, so.
doing that together,
Yeah.
when you meet.
Alright, so we got
Anything else?
agreements done. The only ask I have is, this is the third time again with the political BS on the websites. I'm sick and tired of it. I had a huge
can I-
conversation with that individual in the parking lot at Community.
Can I make a request? Can I make, again, in the interest of transparency, right? This is what you ran on, this is your platform.
Yep.
Whatever you see, take a snapshot of it, take a screenshot, I don't care what it is, and bring it to us. Let me see it.
Okay,
I speak on behalf of every other officer or administrative person in this organization. I want to see it,
sure.
because I don't know what I don't know.
See, I'm blocked from the website, so I can't see it. I just get residents emailing me and
Whoever,
texting me.
Bill, whoever it is, I
So,
don't
but
care,
that's
wherever it
fine,
comes from,
I would
right?
do that, but it's also, I think there's a breakdown in communication or a lack thereof leadership from, someone there, because all these wild accusations and rumors that come out. Like a gentleman, I don't know who this guy is, I just know his name. A guy named Tony, runs in the
Okay.
firehouse, tells somebody Bill Carafa's suing the firehouse, right? So I'm like, holy cow, I call him, I go, what happened? He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. But that came out of your
Well, I will
house.
tell right
And then
now.
it goes around to residents,
So,
right? And it's all farce.
so can I
There's
say
nobody
something
who
then?
wants to shut you down,
All right.
nobody wants to be mean to you.
Residents of the township, Bill Croft is not suing our organization,
But
right?
there's nobody,
Yeah.
hey,
Jeff
Jeff,
heard it from me,
Jeff,
right?
but I love the humor,
There's
but
nobody,
the seriousness
Tony,
comes
that
from the
does
lack
that.
of leadership.
Bill, look.
That needs to come down into the members, so they all understand that this township isn't working against you. It's not the world
Look.
working against you.
I'm happy to discuss leadership philosophies anytime, right? And look, we are doing what we can to run a successful organization, right? That's
How
all,
can we
that's what we're
curb
trying
the
to accomplish.
false stuff that comes out of there, Jeff?
I just ask you, whatever you get, please communicate with us. If you see something, say something. That's our ask. I'll do the same for you, right?
Yep.
I see something, I'll say something. I have no problem doing that, because I don't live in a political environment that should exist in emergency services organizations.
You're right there, I got you on that one.
Could I not be more spot on with that, right?
Nope.
Exactly.
We don't have a tolerance for it. What we know about, we don't have a tolerance for it. We don't know about it, we cannot help. Right?
Yeah,
Okay, so I think.
yep.
Can
That's great.
I ask a
Move on.
quick question? Is there, in my learning of these laws, is there something that says that we have to give 10 years when you can only be audited for 7 years in a regular tax world? Like, is this different, that we have to provide? I
No,
don't have
but
to provide the
it
federal
basically
government
says you're
test.
that you're
Do it
to
annually.
give these to your community.
Correct, but I'm saying, for all of the changes of your administration and our volunteerism, et cetera, it's been missed, which we admit to. But is there something law-wise that, to the federal government, I don't have to prove anything past 7 years?
Yeah.
Is there something with this specifically that says you have to go back 10 years?
Well,
Because
the
it's a lot,
second class
again, we
code
are
says
all
we're to have
volunteers.
them every year.
And I don't enjoy spending
And-
my personal time having to dig through things that if it's
Well,
not the law,
Can
then
we
it doesn't
get,
really have to be.
just out of curiosity, and I don't know if this is possible, a question for you, is the interpretation of how that's worded, right, in the second class township code of 5053 is fairly vague, right? I mean, it almost reads as if I could just write down a list of 20 things I spend tax money on, align it to every single check number, and the amount given to the board, and that
That's
actually
kinda what we
satisfies
got.
1553. Is there any sort of precedent that's been set or understanding of what, again, I'm not saying that's what we provide, I'm just saying it does seem like it's a fairly vague interpretation of what we're actually supposed to give, which probably contributes to the lack of clarity we've had in this entire time.
Right. I think what happens is there becomes an established practice between the fire company and the
Yes.
township that's missing.
That's just acceptable for the
Correct,
two
like
of us.
if that had
Okay.
been happening all this
Yes,
time,
understood.
you probably would be at that point
Right.
where you could just say, here's our list, here's what the tax dollars were spent on, here's the backup,
Sure, okay.
go along your way and be done.
Correct,
Like,
okay.
but because there was a fallout.
We're trying to retroactively create it and then now trying to
Exactly.
move it going
Now,
forward.
this has
Exactly.
been,
Now, hopefully, going forward though, from this point forward, it will not be complicated. You
Correct.
will send in your
Well,
report
I think
every year.
Back to Bill, your question
It'll
about,
come in,
not
it'll
to
be
think about
done.
it, is the intent going forward, especially with the man as a treasurer, is nothing comes out of that account unless it's paid for by the check that comes out of that account.
That
There's no
would be
transfer.
the ideal.
Look, and I understand, right, but you have to just, again, and I'll get out of the way and let this meeting move on, is we didn't know that that was what the township needed or wanted in a certain circumstance. Like, that's, I think that's where the massive disconnect comes.
Right, and I think that's what's happening.
Correct.
And it wasn't
Correct.
through anybody's fault.
Correct.
It's just that
It just
instead
wasn't-
of paying from one account or
Correct.
another account, the
Correct.
transfers were happening
Correct.
back and
yeah,
forth.
because then it's a
And
real
that's creating a
simple
lot of-
reconciliation.
Right, I just don't,
Right.
I just want us to get past this so we can move forward. We understand the time of the tax relief. I think what we're looking for, just as we're committing to this, is the board's commitment to say we will reinstate that funding as soon as we become compliant and we are in agreement, that we have a proper format going forward,
why would we hold it?
right?
Yeah, and I
Correct.
think
And I'm
that's-
with you, because you can't use it for anything else anyway, right? So,
Correct.
I mean, it makes logical sense. You have nothing you can do with that money.
Yeah, it's not
By
gonna
the
go
law.
away or anything, it's,
But I'm just saying, that's our best,
Right.
so,
Yes,
okay?
and I think the board has said that once they're satisfied that all the documentation is there, any funding that you're entitled to will come to you just as it's
Correct.
supposed to.
and I can give it to you in clear conscience then.
Look, I'm fine. Like I said, if you didn't have clear conscience about it and you had concerns, we do welcome the third-party investigation. I mean, we've already agreed and discussed that as an organization. We're perfectly comfortable with that, right?
I think for me, I'd feel more comfortable with that, only because I
It takes
trust
out
the
of our
guy
hands.
who
But
made
again,
the
I mean,
allegations,
then I'll
I
ask,
trust
so let me
that.
ask you to go and initiate that. I mean, and I don't know how this works legally.
Well,
But then
that's-
someone has to go and initiate that with the proper
Okay,
authority,
so
right?
that's where we get into,
I think
now
that-
we're suing the fire company.
No, I don't think that's a
want
suit.
that
I mean,
out there.
again, I'm not a legal expert. I don't think that's a suit. I think if there's a criminal complaint or something needs to be filed, it gets filed with appropriate authorities and they conduct an investigation.
So
I mean, that's how it works.
That's what one resident came to me, they said, why don't you just take it to the DA? I goes, hey, listen, I'm gonna talk about it tomorrow. So
But
now
I'd
it's
rather-
off my
I mean,
plate,
we-
and everybody else can
But
take
we
it.
would rather
wherever
not
they want.
talk about it and maybe actually see, maybe this is advice you give. I don't know who starts that. Right? I don't think it's us that goes to the legal authorities and say, hey, come investigate. I don't know how it works.
I have no idea.
But I think the thought initially though was, let's try to see if we can resolve this.
Sure.
Because we
Without
don't wanna
being
go
public.
reporting you to district attorneys and
But-
have huge investigations
But
if there's
again,
nothing
I think
there.
well, we know there's nothing there, but I'm saying if there's still concerns
Right,
about either misappropriation or fraudulent spending, we actually prefer to start that process now.
okay,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's our preference. And again, I don't
What would happen is-
speak on behalf of everyone, but we talked about that as an organization. We think that's okay.
What would happen though is it would start as a criminal complaint to the DA's
Correct.
office, and then they would decide who did the investigation.
But we're not gonna file a criminal
No,
complaint
no,
on
I'm not
ourselves.
saying you would.
Just as
No, correct,
So-
100%. And what the hope would be now is Amanda's taking over, and hopefully her next person, she will be able to maybe train before there's a transition, so that going forward, there's continuity of some type.
Yep, it's fine.
Apparently, they just kind of threw you into the role and no one really told you what you were supposed to do. You're kind of learning by fire here is basically what's
Well,
happening.
again, as he said, I have no fire background, so there's a lot of things to learn, there's a lot of,
And you've only been doing this for
learning
6 months, that's not a long time, so.
so
And
there's a lot
Amanda,
to
you know what I found, it came through the desk here, was they offer training for a young lady like you. So if you're new to being a treasurer for a fire company or a police organization, anything like that, I think it's through PSATs, give you a class, so you might wanna look into that. Or if I pull it out of my hat, I'll give it to you.
But look, I apologize for taking up as much time as I
No,
did.
it's okay. So just for clarity, ain't nobody suing the firehouse, right? The firehouse isn't going to
No,
fund.
Bill's not suing us.
Bill's not suing us, and there's absolutely no one in the township that has a problem with the firehouse, except you.
And
Go ahead.
moving
I'm
forward, you're gonna have you four individuals sit down, hopefully on a weekly basis, and
Yeah.
get this ironed out.
Yeah.
Yes,
sorry. Absolutely.
yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Can I just quick add something?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Just real quick, as far as our firehouse goes, and I'm kind of advocating for you, sorry. We're all volunteers, so we all have day jobs.
Sure.
So her pulling this stuff up is gonna take time. She's using her spare time to do this. So, you know, honestly, I would ask that you guys give her some reprieve on that, being 6 months in. And we all have day jobs.
I think go back to the 10-year plan,
Yeah.
you document the 10 years, and
It's
as long
needed.
as every time
Correct.
that the team, that the group is getting together and there is progress,
Yeah.
I think that's good. I don't know that we need to say, you need to have this year done by then and this year done by then. I have a feeling you'll probably pull some documents older throughout the 10-year history and be able to find some things, and you'll have to fill the gaps along the way. But I think as long as the group is meeting and showing progress in a report, which I think the report should go to the head of the fire department, it should go to the board of supervisors, so we can compare and make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Well, and I think to the assistant chief's point, which was better communication.
Yes.
So if Amanda is supposed to provide it to you by a certain day and she,
Someone
God
just
forbid, has an emergency, then she emails you and says, look, I'm sorry, it's not gonna be tomorrow. I had an emergency, it's gonna be Tuesday or whatever the day is. And the same from the other side. If you're looking at it and you don't have a chance to do it tonight, there should be an email that says, I'm not gonna be able to meet the deadline of tomorrow. We need a little bit more time.
Well,
That's
hopefully
just
we
better
can get together
communication on both
live in
sides.
person.
But I
and
think,
go over it.
yeah, I mean, I
definitely live in
think
person.
whatever we can do more in person, that's recurring.
Yeah, because then when you have a question, I can ask it.
I think we're all in line with that. I don't think there's any disagreement.
I think you're 100%.
So,
Yep.
alright.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment?
Just a quick question,
Oh, yes,
as
ma'am.
far as funding and that kind of stuff for gas with fire trucks and everything the volunteers do we have to worry about a fire, and are the trucks going to get there in
Now,
time?
these trucks are, well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we're not suspending services, we're not doing anything like that,
Okay.
even though there's funding that's withheld, we're not going to do that, that's not the appropriate thing to do. So you don't have to worry about fire services, still be provided, mutual aid will still be the same, there's no change to that, so.
Okay.
Okay, so no disruption, no nothing, everything's moving along as it normally does.
You're too far back.
Why are you on
We
page
didn't
two?
make it.
You're on page 2, we didn't do the.
Oh, yeah, oh, man.
Managers report.
You're too far
I
back.
was an hour in it, yeah, everywhere. All right, so minutes, you guys have a chance to read
I
your
did.
public ones?
I make a motion to approve the Board of Supervisors minutes from February 4th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the treasurer's,
Good, Aaron, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The treasurer's report for this month, approximately on average this time of the year, we're at 8.6% of expenditures, and we are right on pace. We have received 9.3% of revenues and 8.9% of expenditures have been spent so far this year. Our expenses are a little bit higher due to the snowstorm from last month. We had to, you'll see it later on the agenda, but we had some issues with salt, and I can discuss those then. For your consideration tonight, on the bills list total is $85,623.29, and this includes a pay-ahead amount of $5,550 for salt.
How are we sitting salt?
We're okay on salt right now.
I make a motion to approve payment of the bills in total of $85,623.29.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ron, emergency services, Mr. Wallace?
All right, for emergency services, Pennsylvania State Police filed their monthly report with us. They had 21 calls for service in January. That's down about 10 calls over the previous month. It's always nice to see the calls trending in that direction. The majority of calls for January were mostly alarms and check on welfare calls, and a couple of minor traffic accidents. Nothing major to report there. For Plymouth Community Ambulance, there were 31 calls for service. 18 of those calls went to Frederick Living. Our fire marshal was able to identify several false alarms there. He issued a notice of violation to Fred Living. He's working with them currently to remedy those issues that created those false calls. Frederick Living is a willing participant in all of this, and I expect this to be completed today, if not tomorrow, with full documentation. Next up is the fire company's part, Jay.
I'll make it very quick. We had 16 calls for the month. In service for fire calls was 10.7 hours, a total of 389.5 volunteer hours for the month of January. Trainings were just a review of mostly in-house stuff that we use, standard operating guidelines and things like that. 'Cause it's cold out. and upcoming community events, relaying, the skate park, skate night at Relay was supposed to happen, but I got postponed, so we'll be at that. The only thing is, at some point, the approval of the events for the year, we do need to get that, because they're gonna start happening probably in April. For us, the board annually approves, we didn't receive it yet. So we just need that because that is our list of company events that we are participating, so if we could get them at some point in time before.
Yeah, that's what I just asked Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a partial list.
Yeah, there's partial, yeah.
Because we didn't have a full list.
Correct, and I think there's a full list now, right, Aaron? Like,
We
we
do
can go
have a
ahead
full
and
list
receive
now.
that.
So we just have.
Now that list has the, if it's out of the township, have they requested
They requested
out of the
that.
township, if it's an event out of the township, has that township requested your services?
So I think I mean, I don't really know the answer to that, so I don't wanna speak out of turn. I mean, are you saying, did they?
A letter should be coming
request
to the
us?
township.
There should be, that's our
Right.
understanding, a letter should come to the township. If
Correct.
somebody wants us to participate in a parade, for example.
Right,
The township should be receiving a letter.
right.
Correct, that is our understanding. I think proactively, there are parades that we typically get invited to that are on that list,
Right.
that, that we look for the board's approval, and then we may or may not attend them, if we get invited, or even if we don't, you know what I mean, that will depend on what we do. But, again.
Red Hill is an example of one of those parades. Usually we don't receive that letter from Red Hill until about 2 months
Yeah,
prior to
so
the
it's-
event, but we usually
Yeah.
approve ahead of schedule.
I mean, unless there's another format that you prefer, we submit it monthly, that's gonna get pretty,
No, I think it's just we need
Okay.
the items that weren't approved at the reorg meeting.
so it's just, there's a whole
Can you
list.
just
I
get a
think.
list
for the
There's a
next
list
meeting?
here, if you want it.
You have,
Here's-
Aaron has.
do you want us
Here's-
to
They
approve
highlighted
them
just
tonight
the
or at the
ones,
next meeting?
there's coming up in April, so we need them approved by next
Put
meeting,
that on the
so,
workshop agenda.
yeah,
Okay, so they'll be approved at the workshop.
yeah, so. Sorry, that's it, so.
All right.
The fire marshal, I believe he's on that
He
fire
is on
call
that fire.
still. He responded to 2 fires this month. He's doing 1 investigation from those 2 fires. He also helped as the emergency management official for the township during the snow emergency. He helped declare a snow emergency for that, and he operated the emergency operations center for almost 48 hours. Make sure that we made it through that. It was pretty, thankfully, uneventful. From the amounts that we had been projected up to, I think, 24 inches, we were expecting some power cuts and down trees and things like that. We didn't end up getting any of that, thankfully. And then he was also going to mention his notice of infraction with Fred Living, but I've covered that previously. And that's the emergency services reports.
And you read the fire marshal's report too?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You missed
Water
it.
sewer?
You didn't want to thank anybody? Is my paper different than yours, young man? Basically, our office would like to recognize all the mutual aid departments and fire marshal offices who assisted us with the fire, Fast Road. And our office would also like to recognize our public works crew. I say it all the time, we hands down have the best. I hear from people below us and above us, and hands down our township's the best. The boys here, Steve Heller, Chris Jones, Jay Long, all those guys, and Tommy, I forget Tommy's last name, but they're all amazing guys, and we appreciate the hard work that they put in for us. Water sewer, no Miller?
For the Miller report, we haven't received a Miller report for the month yet. I have asked for it, I expect this is due to a similar delay that we saw last time Sue was in charge of invoicing,
Yeah.
with results getting turned in.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Civil engineer?
Just get to Paul first.
I did skip public works.
Let me read Public Works, Bill.
Yeah, good.
For public reports, they've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work. This is when they start getting ready for their busy season. They start doing a lot of the indoor projects and stuff like that. In January, they put up new wayfinding markings in Wayland Park. This month, they've also completed a bunch of new benches that are going to be installed in Wayland Park to replace some of the ones that are deteriorating at the base of the hill. They've continued to do winter maintenance. Basically, after the first storm, we were concerned about follow-on storms, so they spent a lot of money, or a lot of time doing preparation for that. Something I've had them do new this year is we did snow removal on the trails. These are not paved, so they can't be really plowed like usual, but we have had the group go after the trail here and the one at Wayland and do the best that they can in trying to make those a little more passable. I'll make a caveat here, those are still not really maintained, they are still covered in ice and mud and slippery stuff. And so just do be careful. We do have signs that show at the parks that we don't do the maintenance at the parks, and this is one of the reasons, so if you are in those parks, be cautious. We've also been going through all of the equipment and making sure the equipment is all good as well, like I mentioned earlier. We ran the plows for almost 72 hours straight there in that one winter storm, and that did take its toll on some of the machinery and getting those back up and shape and getting ready to run. And that's all I have for the public report.
Norm, what you got for us, bud?
Okay, LTL has updated the engineer's report for the month of February. Everyone should have a copy of that. I can answer any questions that you might have on it. Just a couple of things to point out. The Big Road subdivision did come in for a review. We issued that review letter. And then my understanding is just actually, I think it was today, they had indicated that to be taken off the agenda for tomorrow night's PC because they've got it was a pretty lengthy letter, and the engineer, before they came in, wanted to have a conversation. So we've got like a video chat or something set up for like 11 o'clock tomorrow. He had some questions about some of the comments on the review letter, which is normal. So he just, what do you mean by this, or that kind of thing. So it'll still be discussed in its entirety in front of the PC. Just they were asking for a month to get their ducks in a row to be able to talk to the PC about that. And then other than that, 3 dogs moving forward. I just think I have a feeling at a pretty slow pace considering what the weather is like out there. And really, the only thing that's happening on 3 Dog right now is building construction. They did, they've got their E&S controls in and the pond frozen, but it's still functioning, so the site's going fine. Other than that, that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
No. Norm? You gonna do John's now, inspector?
Sure. I'll put my building inspector tab on there.
There you go.
So I did talk to John and got an update, and there's not really a whole, there's really not anything new to report. I can give you updates, largely from what the report was in January. But the resident at 1847 Perkiomen Road now has a 3rd attorney involved, my understanding. So apparently she's...
Oh, yeah, the young lady down there.
Yes.
Hotel.
So anyway, and my understanding is either Vicky has spoken with the new attorney or...
Yes.
Okay, so if there's anything you want to chime in, but the rest of what I have is that there was discussion about power and how she was obtaining power at the property. And so we've contacted Pico. Pico said she doesn't have any power. Well, yes, she does. So Pico doesn't know that she has power on site because that was a concern. The way to gain some compliance was to disconnect the power, and Pico said she doesn't have power. Yes, she does. So anyway, so hopefully if, and I think Bill would stop by for like a wellness check or whatever.
Yeah, just see, during the middle of the storm, you're live.
Yeah, and my goodness, my phone has been in negative digits so many times over the past month. That would be a definite concern. So I don't know, Vicki, if you have anything to add. Okay. So other than that, 1732 Becker Road, John is just waiting for snow to subside so that he can do a site visit there. He's got to check on the garage, basically do a code inspection on that. And then lastly, 2746 Yost